The end of the world is probably not imminent, but it is instead inevitable, and this is one of the most solid certainties that science can provide us. There will come a day when every form of life on Earth will simply end. In the year 1999, the 7th month, from the sky will come a great king of terror. The great king of Anglemois will rise again before and after Mars reigns. This is the translation of Nostradamus's 10th century, to which the meaning of the announcement of the end of the world expected for July 1999 has been attributed. And you will certainly also remember the date of December 21, 2012, which, according to a so-called interpretation of the Maya calendar, would have marked the end of times. If we then consider all the various deadlines, more or less publicized, announced by various sects or religious groups, we realize how humanity seems to have a macabre interest in knowing the moment of its own end. The reason might lie in the fact that an end of the world of a supernatural nature could paradoxically be reassuring. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? But think for a moment about what it would entail if someone took the trouble to devise for us, human beings, a design with a predetermined beginning and end, whose date can be revealed through a prophecy. This would lend credibility to our inalienable need to hope to be privileged creatures, the chosen ones, worthy of such attention. An end of the world, the terminus of a design whose greatness may elude us, would be less frightening and would reveal much more hope compared to an end that is simply the end of everything. But the end of the world we will talk about in this episode has nothing mystical or prophetic about it and is, indeed, a certainty from which nothing and no one can escape. Life made its appearance on Earth in the distant Archean era, about 4 billion years ago, when our planet still had extremely hostile conditions. It took nearly 2 billion years for the first processes of endosymbiosis to allow the transition from unicellular prokaryotic life to the first multicellular eukaryotic organisms. And then over another 1.5 billion years before forms of life that we might define as complex began to populate the oceans during the Cambrian period, about 600 million years ago. In the course of these last 600 million years, life has gone through 6 major mass extinctions and at least another 30 periods of minor extinctions, and who knows how many more in earlier eras, so it's hard to have evidence. But, whatever the catastrophe that struck Earth, life has always restarted and, on every occasion, has repopulated the planet, even allowing itself the luxury of evolving into a technological species, Homo sapiens. This makes us understand how life, which at first glance might seem so fragile, is in fact incredibly resilient and difficult to eradicate. Something far more catastrophic than what has happened so far would have to occur for a real end of the world to take place. But for us human beings, certainly more vulnerable as complex organisms and dependent on a greater number of environmental conditions, which event could mark our end of the world? To begin with, you will agree with me on the fact that Homo sapiens is firmly at the top of the food chain and that the appearance of a superpredator of which it suddenly becomes the main prey is rather unlikely, unless it comes from another planet. However, if not predators, we might consider the possibility that humanity could be the victim of epidemics. Biology teaches us that it is rather difficult for a virus to constitute the sole factor responsible for the extinction of an entire species. The dangerousness of an epidemic, whether caused by a virus like COVID-19 or the Spanish flu, or by a bacterium like the plague, depends mainly on the mortality rate and the transmission rate. But, net of possible exceptional cases, the more a pathogen is deadly for its victim, the less chance it will have that the latter will spread the epidemic, and vice versa. Maybe we should rather worry about the possibility of an asteroid impact, but it would take one of truly gigantic dimensions to think of extinguishing all forms of life or even just humanity. And celestial bodies of such dimensions, wandering with unstable orbits, are estimated not to exist anymore since the times of the formation of the solar system and from the era in which the gravitational forces were balanced and stabilized. Moreover, we have seen in other studies that the various space programs now monitor almost all celestial bodies with potentially dangerous sizes and orbits and have developed methods to divert their trajectory if necessary. Let's say that, at least for the defense from asteroid impacts, other living species can rejoice in our existence. Gamma-ray bursts are phenomena actually observed in the cosmos and are thought to be originated from the collision of supermassive stars. Of violence and energies unheard of, if they hit the Earth, they could wipe out the atmosphere. But fortunately, they seem extremely rare. Moreover, to pose a threat, they would have to come from a relatively close source and, above all, we would have to have the incredible misfortune of being exactly in the direction of the energy beam. So, although it's not science fiction, we are in a range of probability perhaps even lower than that of an asteroid impact. And even the much-feared nuclear catastrophe, probably, would not end our species or life on Earth. Hoping that none of us may ever confirm or refute it, according to various studies, a nuclear war, even on a global scale, would not lead to the total extinction of humanity. The planet would suffer, for sure, a terrible change, and the foundations of our civilization would be completely overturned, if not destroyed, but humanity, although more than decimated, would most likely survive, perhaps organizing itself into small communities sheltered in relatively protected areas, from where, in a short time, it could restart and repopulate the Earth, if it really wishes to. Now, of catastrophes and threats on the horizon, we could mention many others: volcanic eruptions, global warming, depletion of resources, artificial intelligence, and perhaps cosmic events of which, for now, we do not even know the existence. But, in general, the history of the Earth suggests that, no matter how hard it may be hit, life will find a way to survive and start over. However, even if life continued to overcome various catastrophes as it has done so far, it will no longer have any hope when the one who allowed it to exist marks the hour of its end. And no, I'm not talking again about the mystical prophecies about the Day of Judgment. The responsible for the end of everything will be the sun, and the certainty of this event does not come from a prophecy, but from the laws of physics, which allow us to understand the evolution of various types of stars. Our Sun, a yellow dwarf mainly composed of hydrogen, is currently in a phase of equilibrium, where nuclear fusion in its core counteracts gravitational pressure. However, every second that passes, the Sun consumes a bit of its hydrogen reserves, fusing atoms to create helium, a heavier element that accumulates progressively in the stellar core. It is estimated that the Sun is about halfway through its main sequence, a phase that can last from a few million to several hundred billion years depending on the mass of the star. But, as with any star, a period of great instability will follow the equilibrium phase. As the hydrogen reserves are depleted, the nuclear energy that counters the gravitational force weakens, and the core, now enriched with inert helium, collapses, increasing the temperature and triggering the fusion of hydrogen in the surrounding layers. This process will expand the Sun to reach sizes several hundred times larger than its current dimensions, transforming it into a red giant. During the expansion, the Sun will engulf the planets of the inner solar system, including most likely Earth. This transformation process of the Sun into a red giant will occur in about 5 billion years, and will be the most natural, inevitable, and definitive end of the world one can imagine. Subsequently, the Sun, after consuming every element useful for fusion, will cease all thermonuclear processes and release the outer layers, while the core collapses into a white dwarf, with dimensions comparable to those of Earth but with infinitely greater density and mass. Over the course of hundreds of billions of years that follow, the Sun will gradually cool down to become a black dwarf, a ghost star invisible to any telescope pointed in the direction of what once was the solar system. But the end of the world, as far as life on Earth is concerned, will be a slow but inexorable process during which various forms of life will disappear progressively, well before our star reaches the stage of a red giant. The constant increase in the Sun's volume and the increase in radiation will cause the irreversible alteration of the carbonate-silicate cycle, crucial for the maintenance of life as we know it. It is estimated that in about 600 million years, the level of carbon dioxide will fall below the value necessary to support chlorophyll photosynthesis, leading to the gradual extinction of plants and, consequently, of animals that depend directly or indirectly on them for survival. In this scenario, humanity and complex life forms will probably be among the first to go extinct, leaving space for simpler organisms, until even these yield in the face of rising temperatures and the evaporation of the oceans. Eventually, the Earth will become an inhospitable desert, a distant memory of a once lush and vibrant planet. Faced with this prospect, we might wonder about the fate of humanity and how we will adapt or react to these long-term changes. Humanity, with its unique capabilities for innovation and adaptation, might seek solutions to prolong its existence on the planet or elsewhere in the universe. Already today we are exploring the possibilities of colonizing other planets and developing technologies that could one day allow us to travel among the stars. Moreover, our understanding of the universe and the laws that govern it continues to grow, fueling the hope that we might find ways to tackle even the most formidable challenges. Perhaps, in the millennia or millions of years to come, humanity will have developed technologies and societies that today we can only imagine, enabling us to face the future with tools and knowledge that currently elude our comprehension. This leads us to reflect not only on our mortality and fragility in the face of cosmic forces but also on our incredible potential for growth, learning, and adaptation. The end of the world, as we know it, might not necessarily be the end of humanity if we manage to overcome our current limitations and find new homes among the stars. However, these perspectives should not distract us from the importance of taking care of our planet here and now. The Earth is our home, and the actions we take today can affect the quality of life for future generations, as well as our ability to face future challenges. Awareness of our position in the universe and the challenges that await us should inspire us to work together to create a sustainable future for all living beings that share this planet with us. In conclusion, as we contemplate the ultimate fate of our world and our star, let us remember to appreciate the beauty and rarity of life on Earth. Let us be guided by curiosity and hope, exploring the universe not only in search of answers but also of new questions that enrich our understanding and experience of existence. Science and innovation, guided by a sense of responsibility towards our common home and future generations, can offer unexpected paths to a bright future, despite the inevitable challenges that the universe has in store for us.